Okay guys, we have a video here on how to solve a quadratic equation. And we're looking at this thinking, all right, x squared plus 3x minus 5 equals 0. And that looks like a lot of equations we've done before. So I'm telling you not to write this down yet, but you will eventually. And I'm saying that we don't know how to do this in our class yet. And why? So again, at first glance, it seems like one of the ones we've done already, and we would try to factor it. So let's actually give that a shot. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So when trying to factor it, we'd say, okay, well, can I find a greatest common factor of these three terms? And we got an x squared, a 3x, and a 5. So there's no number that can go into all three of them. Then sometimes we can take out x's. This is x squared, this is 3x, but this does not. So that's no good. So we're going to try now to factor it. And the way that that works out is we say, okay, I'm going to create my two parentheses. The x squared turns into x and x. And we set this equal to 0. And then now we just try to find these numbers. And so we're looking for two numbers. So the two numbers that are going to go here and here would have to multiply to -5 and add up to 3. And you try, all right? You say, okay, well, maybe if I do -5 times +1, would that work out? And if you add those up, that's going to equal -4. If you swap the signs, essentially what it just comes down to, it's not going to work, all right? So this is no good. We are not able to factor this. Okay, now it doesn't mean that you can't solve it. It just means that we need another way. And that's where something known as the quadratic formula comes into play. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at next. And here we go. We got the quadratic formula. Now we can write this down. So we're saying here if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So if we set the equation equals to 0, then this is how we're going to solve. Okay, I know it may not look like a lot, but we will go through it step by step and make sure it makes sense. So the way we read that is x equals -b plus and minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And as far as, what are these b's and a's and c's? Well, that's from the original equation where it says ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so we'll go over this in an example to see if it makes sense. And then we'll try some more in class. Okay, so let's see now. With this. So the first thing that's a smart thing to do when you have the x squared plus 3x minus 5 equals 0 is say what a, b, and c are. So I think that's a good place to start. So the a is the value in front of x squared. Now, if we don't see anything there, we know there's a 1. So a is going to equal 1. The b is just the number in front of the x. So that is a +3. And then the c is the constant at the end. So that's -5. Okay. So notice now, a, b, and c, those are just numbers. They don't have x's in them. Okay. And what we're going to do with that is plug those into the quadratic formula. Let's make sure we have that over here. And actually, why don't we'll move this over. Okay, move this over. And we'll say now the quadratic formula is the following. X equals -b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And first thing we want to do is just plug some values in. So we say -b, that will be -3 plus minus square root. All right, b squared now, that is 3 squared. All right, so the value of b is 3, so we plug them in there. Minus 4 times a times c. So a is 1, and then c is -5. And then we put this all over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. Okay, so the first thing we do is just take the quadratic formula and then just replace each of the values with the a, b, and c that we decided what they were earlier. Okay, once they have been plugged in, now we just have to do the math. And we'll do it in steps. Okay, do not try to plug this whole thing into a calculator. We want to go step by step here. And here we go. So first of all, we've got, let's get rid of that. All right, so we're going to say this is -3 plus and minus square root. Now we can do some of this. So the 3 squared, we're going to say that's 9. And now over here, very important. Now this can change from problem to problem, but we're really looking at this. Oops, let's go back there. The way we can look at this is it's really like 3 numbers being multiplied together. A -4, a 1, and a -5. Okay? So you can go left to right or just kind of look at the whole thing as a whole. But the bottom line, though, is that we have 2 negative numbers, right? We have this -4 and this -5. So when we multiply them together, this is going to be a positive number. So multiply -4 times 1 times 5 together, it's a positive 20. Okay, so sometimes that happens. Sometimes it is subtraction, but in this case, it's going to change to addition. And then we have, down below, we have 2. Okay. One more thing we can do at this point is add up that 9 and 20. So it's going to be -3 plus minus square root of 29 over 2. Okay. And at this point, there's really nothing else we can do. We look at 29. It is not a perfect square, meaning we can't just do that in our head. So we're going to need the calculator for that. So take the square root of 29, and you should get 5.4. So, and we'll just leave it to 1 decimal place there. So at this point, this is when we have to deal with this plus minus thing. All right. So we're doing 2 things at once here. So we can have this top arrow be the plus and the bottom be the minus. And here's how this works. We're going to take the -3 and we are going to add the square root of 29, which we said was 5.4, and then divide that by 2. And if we do that correctly, we should get 1.2 as an answer. So that's one of our answers is 1.2. And then the other one, we'll do -3. Now we're going to subtract the 5.4, or the square root of 29, divide that by 2, and we get 4.2, and that should be a negative value. Okay, so it's -8.4 over 2, which is -4.2. All right, so those are our 2 answers. And again, notice if it is a situation where you have to use the quadratic formula, we are going to end up getting decimal answers. Because if we got whole number answers, that means that we could have factored. Okay, so this comes in to play when we have something like this. We have an x squared and another x. We cannot factor it, so we've got to go with another method, which is this quadratic formula. Okay, so in class, we'll get some more practice on this. And as questions come up, I will help you out. Okay, thanks.